everyone. You are watching Managing Day to Day with me, Christina Laster, and National Parents Union. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all thriving. Hello, America's beautiful children. We love you. And so today I have on my sister, friend, and guest, Natasha. Natasha, go ahead and sorry about that. My phone started to pick up. Tell people watching who you are.
Hey everyone, how are you? Today's Wednesday. I know we forget like what day it is, but my name is Natasha Madry, and I work for Massachusetts Parents United, and I am a mom of 5 wonderful children, and they are ages 13 through 23.
That's like two generations right there, right? I get it, sis. Let me tell you, I have the only son, who just turned 9 yesterday, but then I have that 26-year-old and 22-year-old. It's like my 14-year-old, and that it's just across generations. I commend you. Really, I wanted to take this opportunity to really talk about preparing for summer, because we realized that none of the things that happened this year were expected. It caught us off guard, right? And now we're moving into where it would have been summer break, but what is that going to look like? And since we don't quite know, it's better to at least start talking to your kids about certain things, right? Just preparing them to understand that summer may not look the same. But these are the things that we can do, right? Keep it on a positive instead of a negative. And then, are you going to continue your child's education through the summer? I am. Me as a homeschool mom, I'm going to continue. I feel like learning is year round, and I will continue to do that. But I believe setting a tone, giving reasonable expectations, and talking as a family through some ideas of what is going to come in the summer would be a very good way to have your children transition well, right? Sometimes, children, when they don't understand, the flexibility, it becomes like, oh no, this is too much. I don't want to do that. And so we can help our children thrive better if they understand what we expect from them and when they're a part of planning. What do you have to say about that, Natasha?
I completely agree. Like 10, so we're on week 10 here in Massachusetts for how long the kids have been out of school, and the struggle is real. So for
Right.
me, like my son was planning to go to a summer camp, and he was going to be, it's an overnight camp, so he was going to be there for 3 weeks. And the best part of that camp experience is for him to be away from technology for 3 weeks. Like that's
Right.
always like, just it's so much technology now that it's really hard to like pull my youngest son away from Fortnite, and it's really hard for me.
I have to say, for me, it was very challenging. As a homeschool mom, I typically did not allow so much online time and access. I just didn't. And it was limited. And now it's like a lot of stuff that we're doing because the bookstore closed down, and couldn't, send the books and things like that. The library, closed. Parks, we used to go to parks, museums, things like that aren't open. And so it becomes a challenge when you are trying to limit internet and online and entertainment time, but then at the same time you're thinking, well, what else do they have to do, right? And so basically there's a healthy balance in between that. When I start to see that my son is becoming frustrated, irritated, or overwhelmed with like Roblox, because that's his game, then I know that that's the limit. I typically say 2 hours a day. He can split that up or whatever. But when I see that it's affecting his mood or overall behavior, then we just kind of stop doing that for a few days, rebalance, and now let's talk about why, right? Now that you understand and you see the difference in your behavior over these 3 days. And so What are you guys gonna do for the summer?
That's I think the $1 million question. So for me, I would love to have like continued summer learning, right? So like some online classes. But honestly, like my older son, he's 17, he hasn't really done any Zoom classes at all. So this has been like a long extended summer break for him. So he's like, oh, well, what's the point? I'm not going to do these classes. It's not going to count anyway. Like
Right,
I'm still going to pass. And it's hard to like convince a 17-year-old, like, no, you should still do this because you have the opportunity, because he goes to KIPP, so he has the opportunity to increase his grades. So it won't go
right.
lower, but he does have that opportunity to make it higher, but that's still not enough for him. So he's like, no, I'm not doing it. So
You
I
know,
don't know. It's really
yeah,
hard.
I'm trying to, really just look at some fun activities. Parents, we would love to hear from you. If you have some ideas and some suggestions that we could share broadly with our parents that are watching and everyone else to benefit just the community of parents that we have here, we definitely would love to hear those suggestions about what you're planning. Whether that's from the meal times that you might be planning. Maybe you have some summer recipes that you would like to share, right? Or ever those are activities too. And planned family activities are great. Or maybe you just, have some other ideas. I'm here in California and I don't plan on going to the beach this summer. So I have to figure out what it is we're going to do. And me and my kids are actually going to be planning and talking about those activities that we might be able to do and talk about it as a family. And then let us have that reasonable expectation for, if we're not able to do these things, then they will understand they have to be flexible. And so I definitely recommend that, you talk it over with the kids and you guys come up with some planned things. And for the older children, sometimes it becomes really challenging to just keep them motivated or to motivate them into doing some things, especially when they see like no incentive, to do that. So I would suggest just finding the middle ground of what would incentivize them to do a planned activity, right? Because we can all meet in the middle and there's a balance there as a family. And so what would incentivize, maybe your son to say, I'm going to do something different, challenging, but maybe not the norm, maybe not what I'm used to doing. And so what do you think that would be?
That's true. Like my daughter Tatiana, she just decided to become an artist like over these 2 months and decided to like first paint one of her walls white, right? And
Okay.
then now she's drawing this big mural, which is
Oh,
amazing. I'm like, wow, who knew that she had this artist in her waiting to just come out? And she's like, I'm just gonna do this. We'll just go with it. It's just so amazing. Like, and I try to tell them there's other things when they say they're bored. I'm like, you can clean the house. Like, go take out the trash. Like, let's organize the kitchen. Like, let's, paint, do anything. But they're just not, is to be able to really keep the interest is hard. And then my daughter, she works at Burger King, and I don't even feel like that's safe. And I keep telling her, well, Tati, you should just quit. You don't need to work. And she's just like, oh, she's 16, so she's like, oh, I need the money, but she doesn't, because I told her she doesn't need to work, and whatever she needed, I'd give her. But it's just that independence, having a job. I
right.
worked at Burger King when I was 14. I know you have your own
Mhm.
money, you be able to buy whatever you want without asking your parents. And
Right. Which is a good work ethic to have, and it is a little bit worrisome when you're sending your kid out to work at fast food during a time and knowing how many people are driving in and out. I'm sure they're doing it safely. So we'll definitely keep her in our prayers and thoughts here, and tell her we would love to see that mural when she's done. Interesting. Yeah.
really nice. You'll like it. I'll definitely share a picture.
I was just seeing how there were mural paintings in different communities that beautified the community. And so that'll be interesting to see her finished product because I do believe that that is a beautiful form of art as well. People are able to integrate culture and history in murals that sometimes don't take place in other ways. And so that's really amazing that she thought to do that. You know, basically, we have to be willing to sit down under the norm that we're operating with right now and say, here is what is possible and here is what is out of my control to our children. Because a lot of times we're not willing to say, I just don't know, or I don't have control of this, right? Or, you know, I don't have the answers, but I will try to find out and then I'll come back to you. And I think that's a real conversation. Even acknowledging when you see your teenage children like just not really feeling motivated, like, look, I get it, because this is not the conditions under which you would even desire to be motivated. When you have nowhere to go, you don't have that social interaction, you just are looking forward to some kind of summer camp and now you can't, you know, go, and that can be enough to just really take away the wind out of someone's sails when they're younger. And so we have to be willing to have those conversations, but at the same time, see what we can do to help our kids to move forward, to get inspired again, re-engage, whatever that may be. Find out what your child's strengths are. I'm talking to parents all across the nation. Find out what your child's strengths are, what they like to do, inspire them to do some things that they may not like to do, challenge them to try new things. And there's many different ways that you could do that. I mean, I remember my sister that came on a week ago was talking about YouTube University, right? I was watching with my son 8 simple inventions, and that was like, his eyes just sparked up, like, we could do this, we could do that, we could do that too, mommy. And I'm like, okay, make a list. I'll order it from Home Depot, whatever it is that you need, and we will try all 8 of those things. So, you know, what do you think about that?
I think that's an awesome idea. I'd love just to develop that creativity, like find some, you know, something online and try to do like a experiment. Like that's awesome. Like I'll do anything to make my son, my kids excited about learning. So whatever I have to, because what it really comes down to is feeling like a failure as a mom, right?
Right.
Because not only is my kid like not doing Zoom, it's like, well, do I focus on one of them? Like, do I focus on the youngest one that's really, you know, that I feel like I can control more than the 17-year-old who's already given up? Or, and then hope that the middle child is like over just gonna do it because she's already a good kid. So it's really hard when you have to pick a kid that you really focus on, right? And when you're still also working from home, and
Yeah.
you're working from home and trying to make sure your kids are doing what they're supposed to do, and then all of a sudden you have to be a wife and a mom and clean up, cook dinner, like it's like so overwhelming. Like you don't even know. I'm over it. I'm over this pandemic. I want this nightmare to be over. I really do.
My friend, we were talking about this the other day, and she was like, just let me go to TJ Maxx. You know, I just want to go to TJ Maxx, walk up and down the aisles, touch some clothes, look at some price tags. And I was like, you know, even those things that we really didn't realize were a part of our way of being before, you start to think like, yeah, how come we can't go to Burlington or TJ Maxx, right? And like that would be great just to walk up and down, see what's new, you know. But it really is a moment by moment, day by day processing things, just having that mercy and that grace on yourself, because there's those things that you can control and those things that you don't control. And so taking just, you know, the things that you can control and finding out, you know, what inspires you, what encourages you, what keeps you going, what keeps your kids going. And, you know, it is difficult. I don't want to minimize you parents that have multiple ages ranges of children in the home, because you know, you do find yourself trying to figure out, well, am I spending too much attention with this person, or am I taking for granted that I have an independent worker who may also need my attention? And so, you know, make sure that you communicate with your children. I do There's times where, I'm working a lot with my daughter, and then my son will be doing something he's not supposed to. And guess what? At that period of time, I make an assessment. Do I really want to battle him because he's building with his Legos right now, even though he's supposed to be writing? Or should I just take an opportunity to let him go ahead and do that, but remind him that that chunk of time you're going to owe me later? And so that's what I do. And typically he's like, well, wait, if I owe you that later, then I'm not going to be able to do what I want. Yeah. And he makes the right choice, right? And so there's just, ways to pick and choose battles, and not have a war in the house. Yeah. Because that chaos, that confusion, how we feel as parents really starts to weigh heavy on us. And then in turn, it goes back on to weigh onto our kids. So yeah. Do you have any suggestions that you would like to give for parents that have multiple age ranges of children?
So I think that reach out to local parent groups, right? Because I think that there's like power in numbers, right? So if you have friends that also have kids that are in 7th grade, right? For example, reach out to them, like bond with each other. Like this is the time, if you have teacher friends, reach out to them. Because I have a friend that's a teacher and she's awesome. And she's like, well, if you have a problem with math, just call me. I'm like, okay, because I don't know, just like reach out to everybody as much as you can, and just don't be afraid to ask. Because if you don't ask, you don't get anything, right? They say a closed mouth is not fed. So that's it. If you need something, you have to put your hand out and be able to ask people, like, this is what I need. Can you help? And you might ask 10 people, but 1 or 2 will reply. So just not being afraid to ask. Just ask for whatever is needed. You never
know. Having that support group and that support system, and you don't have to have a support system where everybody always agrees with you, right? I mean, having those differences is actually okay. I like to always say, I don't want a whole bunch of people surrounding me that are gonna say yes when I say yes, no when I say no, and just kind of justify some of the things that I'm always saying no. Like, I like to see differences in people and respect them. And I think that that's supportive as well, because we grow from that, right? And definitely, if you're looking for that community of parents, that's who we are here at National Parents Union, and so we want to be there to support you. If you have any particular questions about resources or just understanding more, about activities, like I said, I'm open for feedback and also questions and suggestions. You can either put it in a comment field. Always, when I'm doing my show, you're able to put that in the comment field, as long as it's not negative, because that's when people start. We're not gonna go there today.
There's negativity in the world. All we need is positive things.
Right? We do not want any. Let me rephrase. We do not want any hate language in the comment field, and so if it's not, constructive, it's not happening on mine. And so you can either email me too, Christina@mpunion.org. Love to hear from you guys. Also, before we end today, I wanted to remind you that we have the Family Bill of Rights that you can locate on our National Parents Union web. I think it's nationalparentsunion.org, right? And you can put /Family Bill of Rights. You can also Google that for National Parents Union Family Bill of Rights. It was also, in the Black Wall Street Times. Definitely check that out. We were very careful with getting your thoughts about what it would require to send your child back to school safely, and also what that continual safety would look like. And so we put a lot of thought and a lot of parent voices into that. And I definitely would admonish you all to read that. And if you have any questions or suggestions, definitely reach out to us here at National Parents Union. Natasha, do you have a final suggestion or thought?
So so like you were talking about the Family Bill of Rights, I've read it. It's amazing. So like this should also be shared. You should send it to all your school districts around the nation, because it's, for me personally, it's all about safety, right? I'm not going to send my kids back to school if I don't feel 100% safe, right? Because my kids are my kids, right? I'm not getting another
Right.
chance, you know? So that safety is our number one concern, but the Bill of Rights is so amazing. It's just like so many different viewpoints, and what it really comes down to is having parent voices at the table, right?
Right.
You need to have parent voices. It can't just be one particular kind of parent. It needs to be very like diverse group of
Mhm.
parents at the table, so that you can really get like a strong like opinions about like what is good for our babies, because these are our babies and we don't want to take chances with our kids. And
No.
we do want our kids to go back to school, don't get me wrong, because I do. I want, once they say it's safe, I want my kids to go back to school, but I want to make sure that they're able to wash their hands, that the school is providing masks, right? And that these masks have to be like, they have to give them regularly. It can't just be just one mask, right? So we got to make sure they have a supply. We need to make sure that, if a kid is sick, that's reported, that is reported to the parents. And what if a teacher gets sick? Like, what's going to happen? There's going to be so many different scenarios, and we just need to be in the loop as parents, right? We can't be finding out later. Like, we always need
Right.
to be in the know, if that makes sense. So it's all about getting our voices out there and being at that table, because sometimes they don't invite us to be at the table, but we're just going to have to just bring our own chair, like they say. That's it. Bring your own chair,
Right.
be at that table, because you know what? You don't need an invitation. We need
No.
to be there. We need to put our voices out there, and we're the best ones to speak for our kids, because we know what they need.
Exactly. And so now we're, parents, like I said, we heard from you, and we took the your voice and put it in, compiled it into our demands of what that will look like, for children to enter safely back into school. Your voices were there, respected all of our voices as parents collectively. And so definitely take your time to read through that. And you can always reach out to us. We're here to answer any questions. And I have to say that I am seeing something that is very inspiring. Just the parents that are demanding that their voices be heard, that number is growing, demanding that their children receive quality education. I'm very encouraged by that. I think that this was like an awakening time period, that parents started to recognize that there was some issues, right? Some of us already knew, but at the same time, now that the children are back home and you're the primary educator, your voices need to be respected even coming out of this. And so don't ever have your child even enter into a space when your voice is not respected. And that's just the best thing I can say. It is our job, our duty, our privilege to advocate on behalf of our children. And so please use your voice, and speak up. Anything that you feel, whether it's questions, whether you see something that's not happening, whether you just need to understand is there going to be summer school, whatever that may be, ask those vital questions, get that information, and we hope that you thrive. You have been watching Managing Day to Day with me, Christina Laster, and National Parents Union. Goodbye, everyone. I will see you tomorrow. Same place, same time. We love you, America's beautiful children. Bye bye.
Bye.